go. Martini's there. Okay, go back to making your jokes now that the camera's on.
Well, he just said that he thinks he could actually guard me on a basketball court. I mean, look at him. No offense.
See, this is what he does.
What?
He hears what he wants to hear.
I see. Okay.
I just basically said he wouldn't get close to the rim.
I wouldn't need to get close to the rim.
Okay, well,
You'd have to come out and guard me from 25
you two just
feet
keep
out.
that up while I just say to the audience,
I would
welcome
rain
to the
jumpers
Q&A
on your head.
Cafe.
You said I was boxing you in.
This
and
is
my
our
point
You are
was,
boxing me.
annual,
My point was I'd be
gathering
boxing
with
you
the hosts
out.
Of the Sports Fix. Kevin Sheehan and Thom Loverro, welcome
Thanks.
back, both of you.
Good to be here.
It's a bromance, isn't it?
Who are the two of us?
What you got going on here?
We hear the odd couple all the time. At least I do.
But the only time you see each other is when you do the show, or do you see each other other
absolutely.
times?
He's very
Really?
aloof. Outside, no, really. Outside of the show, when the show's over, he's got his own program, and you stay away from him. You leave him alone.
Let me tell you
and
how
hopefully he comes with a good attitude
Tell
the
me,
next
please,
day.
Let me
please
tell you
me
how the
it goes
discussion
down.
went just a couple of minutes ago. Kevin and I, we're going to come down to
You were sitting and
Georgetown.
watching the Nats.
We're going to hang out, and I'm ready for, after the show, hanging out, have some beers, running around Georgetown. He says, oh, I got to play basketball now. I can't do it.
I didn't say that.
Well, you're playing outside.
I said tonight is my basketball night. I'm trying to get out of it so I can hang out with you.
I'll give you a hall
But you
pass.
don't run around anywhere. I mean, let's be fair. So wherever we're going, we're walking, if not being carted somewhere.
Well, I may need you at some point during the night.
Well, let me just say, we have a very nice bar in there where you can do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And then just a few blocks down, we have a basketball court where you can do what you want to do.
Great. Look at that.
Except
Problem
that it's
solved.
outside.
Look at that.
And even though the show will air a week after we're recording it, which is going to affect everything we say about the NBA draft and whatnot, but it will be raining by the time you play basketball.
So it's going to air a week after the NBA draft? Well, we'll just skip that
it'll air
tonight.
a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
But, and I don't know, we're number 19 in the draft, so what difference does it make,
Nobody
right?
cares about the NBA draft. Ernie's going to pick somebody who can't play, so what's the point?
Well, if you wanted to
Like
seem,
John
if you
Wall,
wanted
Bradley
to seem
Beal,
like
Otto Porter.
sages,
Yeah.
can you say who you think will get picked so when this airs, the audience will know whether you really know your stuff?
Go ahead, basketball
There you
expert.
go, you see?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I think they brought in Bobby Portis for a tryout. One of the guys they brought in. He may not be there, but I think that's a guy that they would pick.
That's a good guess. Kevin Looney from UCLA might be the guy. I love Montrezl Harrell. We talked about it on the show today, and I think he's going to be a good pro, and he might be there when they pick. So there are a bunch of people, but it's a boom or bust thing in the NBA. You have no idea except for the first two or three.
Here's what we don't want anymore. This is terrible, okay? And it's politically incorrect, and I may be out of my mind. But
Bring it on.
But for this team, I don't want anybody with a passport anymore. Okay? Because he's not real good at the passport guys.
Yeah, they've struggled with Euros.
Yeah.
And Ernie loves his Euros.
Yes, he does.
Alesky Pesharov, Jan Vesely.
Yeah.
None of them have worked out.
No.
Well, okay. Well, actually, that helps me to go to my next subject because.
RG3.
No, I'm not going to get there yet. No, because I noticed this last night, and this is kind of like doubling up a lot of things, but these draft shows, is the NBA draft show as big as the NFL draft show?
No.
But
Not even close.
I noticed last night there were NHL awards, and we have NFL. We have all these award shows now. Sports is getting like the Golden Globe. I mean, is this a thing that's just going to get bigger?
Well, this is the downtime in sports, really,
Yeah,
from now until football season. So you end up having all of the award shows, the ESPYs during July, and the NHL awards. You always have those.
How do you
at this
feel
time of year.
about Caitlyn Jenner getting the award at the ESPYs? Has that been brought up on your show?
We have not talked
We
about
have not
that.
taled about that.
Oh, wait a minute. Tommy mentioned one thing. The day that the picture came out, was it on People magazine?
No, Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
Tommy said, boy, she's very attractive. And I
Go ahead, continue.
Tommy
you want
said,
the shovel to keep
I'd
digging
think about
for
it.
yourself
I'm
here?
just quoting you.
Okay.
You said, I'd think about it.
I didn't say. You see, you're misquoting.
Oh, okay.
Is that enough
ahead,
to win
why
an
don't you-
ESPY award, though?
Actually, I understand the argument that there may be more worthy candidates, like a Lauryn Hill or somebody like that. who should have gotten the award. But I've also been convinced by people that it helps push forward an agenda that maybe needs attention. So I have mixed feelings about it, but I think there was probably more worthy candidates.
But how? Okay, but how do you, these award shows? Though I don't remember when I was growing up, you didn't have these big glossy award shows related to the sports.
You know what I remember when I was younger was at holiday time, like the All-American teams
Yeah,
being
but it
announced
wasn't
with
like
Bob
Alec
Hope.
Baldwin
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out and rock
No,
stars
you're right.
and
It was not a
and
big
a
deal.
red carpet, and I don't even. They may even have a red carpet pre-show now on these things, but it
They
was
do
just,
for the ESPYs.
You didn't
The
have
red carpet.
See,
you didn't have 3 or 4 24-hour sports networks then too.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
all
no, I know it's big business,
programming
but
at this
it's
point.
and it's big and bigger business. Did you see the movie Draft Day?
Yes,
And what did you think of that?
but that was the one from several years ago,
No, it was
right?
one with Kevin
one
Costner.
Kevin
It was
Costner.
Oh,
like
no,
a
no,
year
no, I
ago.
did not see Draft Day.
I didn't see Draft Day either.
I can't believe you guys didn't
I know.
see it. It made me
Well, because
cry.
it did really.
It made me cry.
Well, now I've got to see.
Yeah,
now I've
no.
got to watch it.
No, I can't
Was it
believe
realistic?
Well,
Maybe
I
that's
mean,
why
they
we didn't
showed
see
you
it.
stadiums.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
Did he
that's-
remind you of Vinny Serrato, and that's why you cried?
We said about Vinny Serrato the other day. Did anybody see the Game of Thrones finale?
No, I didn't, but I'm sure.
Shame. If you saw it, that's how Vinny Serrato should have exited town.
Well, while this isn't directly RG3, but I noticed this morning when I was listening to Sports Talk Radio, though not your show, because I was at a trade conference, not sports trade.
Okay.
The talk was all about Russell Wilson, and would Washington go after Russell Wilson if he, you know,
Where
he's
did
a
you
free
hear
agent
that? Where
on
did you
a
hear that?
Sports Talk Radio.
On a Sports Talk Radio?
9:80 a.m.
You know what? That's a great idea for a segment, Tommy.
You know what?
We should have done
You
that.
know what we should
Yesterday,
do? We should
I'm
go back
embarrassed.
and rerun the segment we did yesterday.
Yeah, that's a great
on that.
idea.
That'd be a
Okay, but
good
they
idea.
didn't have the podcast up last night in time for
That's
us
we're-
to listen
we're-
to.
no,
we're
we're
not-
just
I work.
right.
No, we
You know,
are
it's
not
weird to
talking.
be in my office
the best
and have you
ideas.
guys on when the
The
boss
best
walks
ideas
in.
are never original.
Yes.
Never.
So you've talked about
Yeah, we have
it.
talked
So
about
tell
it
me
because
about
it's a
it.
worthy,
Okay,
it's a
this is-
worthy topic.
and
I
that's
mean,
why I'm
I
bringing it
came
up. It
down the
was
side that
intriguing.
if the quarterback situation isn't resolved, I'm going after Russell Wilson. I think he's a winner no matter where he plays.
What would we have to pay for him?
A lot.
A lot.
tell
Just like
me.
the Baltimore Ravens had to pay a lot to keep Joe Flacco. But hopefully now there's the
We're talking
perception.
40, 50, 60, count up. Tell me a number that
Well,
you think.
it'd be in the top 3 to 4 salaries of quarterbacks, 3 to 5, which would be in the 18 to 22
Yeah.
a year range.
Yeah.
But that's why you have supposedly now a talented general manager to fill in the pieces that aren't quite as expensive.
you like
and Scott
this guy.
McCloughan.
Yeah, you like this guy.
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, I do.
I like him.
When was the last time you mentioned Bruce Allen,
We don't mention him that much.
who never sat here?
No, he
You
didn't.
know, twice he was booked to sit here,
And he didn't
twice
show up?
canceled. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the 11th hour.
Now, I
well,
like Scott
Tony
Mc-
Wiley canceled.
I like Scott McCloughan, but I don't have a lot of confidence like many people. He'll walk into Redskins Park, a real smart guy, and walk out, basically not being able to
Deflated.
remember his name. Yeah. Because that's what happens to a
He's
lot
the
of people.
first, Carol, he's the first real football GM-only talent evaluator they've had in the organization since really Charlie Casserly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been that
Well,
long.
and he's a legend.
Well, Beathard's really the legend.
Yeah.
Casserly,
Yeah.
had some
Okay,
good
put him
years.
down.
No, but Charlie's such a good guy, and we love him. But Beathard's the legendary
yes.
GM in this town.
But isn't it great that we had two?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? I mean,
But
that's
this is
something.
the first guy that has that kind of.
So what's he
keen
done
eye.
right? What are some things he's done right in this, run up to what's
Well, he's
season.
added some pretty good pieces defensively. He's
at
added,
the draft?
Well, through free agency. He added Terrence Knighton. Pot Roast is his nickname. Stephen Paya.
Can you imagine calling an adult pot roast? I can't bring myself
What
to
do you
it.
mean? They called a football player refrigerator.
Right.
I know.
Deshaun Goldson, Chris Culliver in the defensive backfield where they had huge weaknesses last year. He drafted on paper, it looks like a good draft. They added an offensive lineman with their first pick who can step in and play right tackle. It just appears, Tommy and I have had him on the show 2 or 3 times, and we've talked to him multiple times, outside of the show, and he just seems competent. and dialed in and focused. And as long as they let him do his job, he should be able to upgrade the talent.
Not
on the
just
roster.
competent, but confident too. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea that, I mean, like, you know, these are my picks, these are my guys. I'm not worried about the fallout from picking this guy or that guy, whereas normally at Redskins Park, they're worried about the fallout about everything.
Since it matters so much what Dan Snyder thinks, apparently Dan Snyder must still like this guy or never disliked him, or the relationship's good, or they stay out of each other's way. I mean,
With McLuhan?
yeah, this matters.
I think he'll, I think the one thing that's been overrated over the last decade, really decades since Gibbs came back, is Dan Snyder's day-to-day involvement in the football operation. He's actually not really in meetings saying, pick him,
Well, yeah,
draft
no,
him,
right.
do this.
Okay,
Now, I think the relationship he has with the young quarterback has been problematic for 2 coaching staffs in a row. But I don't think, I think he'll let
you
McLuhan
just like never
do.
mention his name. You just
Who,
go on.
Griffin?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I hope he ends up doing well like he did his
Well,
rookie
doesn't
year.
everybody?
Yes,
I mean,
I
won't
would
that,
think if you're a
wouldn't that
Redskins
be,
fan.
wouldn't that be the best solution?
That would be
the
the best
thing
solution.
for everybody concerned.
But I think he'll leave McLuhan alone. I do.
I mean, and
I'm not as confident that he'll do that.
Redskins' normal operating procedure of the fans is if everything's going well going into camp, it's an immediate assumption that we're going to go to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, isn't that how it always works? Like, and so far there really hasn't been any big problem with RG3.
They haven't played a game yet. Yeah.
But that's why I say
It's
we're
usually
already
when it
talking
starts
about
to
the
change.
Super
You know what
Bowl.
that's called? You know
Yeah.
what that's called? I believe the quote is winning off the field.
Well, but there hasn't been a lot of bad stuff coming out, which is unusual.
No.
The bad stuff is the relationship between the head coach and Robert
Jay
Griffin.
Gruden.
Yeah.
But
that's the bad
nobody's
stuff.
giving signs that that relationship
Not right
is
now.
bad right now.
No, they're all.
Or is
you
that
know,
just all
no,
PR?
the public face is it's kumbaya.
But do you
We're all
think it's
together.
more PR than not?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I think that relationship is not great.
Could
And,
they?
and even when Jay Gruden is trying to toe the party line, it's like a bone sticking in his throat. He can't just say the easiest thing is Robert's our guy. We're 100% behind him. We're really feeling good about him. He can't do what Bruce Allen does. I mean, Jay Gruden has got a little bit of an honesty bone in his body that just keeps him from not qualifying every single endorsement he makes.
Isn't that something that he sort of had in common with RG3 as well? Just this enormous candor, this enormous sharing of what they were thinking. And RG3 seems to have successfully reined it in now, don't you think? I mean, he's not that much on social media anymore.
No,
you know?
he hasn't been.
He just seems to be doing the job. And Jay Gruden, I don't know how he's doing it.
I mean, I think Jay.
Because he hasn't really had to talk about much
I think
yet.
Jay Gruden at this point, I mean, we should, as fans, really keep a close eye on him because there's no guarantee that he's the right guy, and
He's absolutely right.
And so doesn't he have as much at stake as RG3 this season? Could they both be gone?
I think he does. The difference is he's got 4 more years of a contract guaranteed. But it's
You say that, but this owner
Okay,
has
but-
never fired a coach.
With 4 years left on
Well,
his
he
Not with
didn't
that
even
kind of
fire. He did. I mean, it took him. I mean, he fired Jim Zorn with 1 year left. He does not have a track record.
But can you demote a coach, keep the contract? Can you do like a Brian Williams, where we keep
Put
you,
him on-
but you go
yeah,
to
because he'll be so much
MSNBC?
better on MSNBC. I don't think you can do that. I would assume that his contract is for being the head coach of the football team. I would think it's
They
spelled
lose
out
every
as
game.
job description.
RG3 does well, but they lose every game.
That would be that's a scenario we've not really paid much attention to because if a quarterback plays really well in the NFL,
the
your
logic would be
team
that
usually
you're-
plays well. Your team usually has good results.
Well,
But it's possible.
I mean, the one thing about Jay Gruden, and you talk, we don't know how good of a head coach he can be, and part of maybe in his mind the problem is, I can't show you how good of a head coach I can be if this guy's my quarterback.
Right.
That
I think
may
there's
be
a
part
lot
of
of
the
that.
problem.
how are the 2 backup quarterbacks doing? Because you don't hear a lot of big, heavy, happy buzz about them. So
There is
far.
still a faction at Redskins Park that believes Kirk Cousins is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Not everybody believes that, but a lot of people out there believe that.
Why do we always hear that, though? Is that a machine, or is there some validity to it?
There's validity to it. In fact, I think
there is
Yeah, I
validity
think
to
a
it.
year ago, Jay Gruden, after
But does he need to maybe get away from Washington?
Maybe he does. He threw a lot of interceptions. I mean, had a lot of big games. Had a huge game against Philadelphia. Threw for over 400 yards. But not only did he throw key interceptions at important times, but then the shots of him on the sideline were with the head hanging, and he just looked like he couldn't handle it. But a lot of young quarterbacks go through
Steven
that.
Strasburg kind of thing.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. He looked
Yeah.
defeated when he'd be sitting on the sidelines. One of the great things about our show is we can argue about third-string quarterbacks, okay, which we have in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that Colt McCoy may be the favorite of some of the faction over at Redskins Park. Colt McCoy's the only guy on the team last year, one of 3 quarterbacks, who didn't lose his job because of performance. The other 2 were benched because they weren't playing well. Colt McCoy only wound up on the bench because he got hurt.
Yeah.
And I just think that Colt McCoy does what the coach wants him to do. He may not be the best quarterback, but coaches like guys who follow orders and know how to run the
I think Colt
playbook.
McCoy is a 6-10 quarterback. Isn't
that
with good talent?
Isn't that the root of the affection of Grossman? Is that people
Yes.
just love him?
Yeah,
The team loved
Yeah.
Rex Grossman.
and I
The
think you
players
could have
loved
a
him.
Colt McCoy situation there because Mike Shanahan liked Grossman because he knew the playbook. He did he carried out the playbook.
Loyal.
Yeah.
He was tough, and the team liked him, and the
Yeah.
team likes McCoy too.
Yeah.
It actually is a good analogy.
Well, you went exactly where I wanted to go. You mentioned the name Shanahan, and this year you got you're the only person Mike Shanahan talked to, right? You got the only
I think
interview
so,
with
yeah.
him. Not to exclude you from this conversation.
No, it was his.
No, I know, but I thought as much as
he-
you want. I
he-
know.
He nailed it
How
down.
did you do
I'm very
it?
proud
How
of
did you
him.
get that interview?
I had talked to him for.
Did you have his private number?
Yeah,
Or
we had been talking for a year?
Yeah, a year.
Probably a year.
Yeah.
And every time I would say, all right, at some point you're going to come on with us and we're going to do, a couple of segments. And he's like, I promise I'll do it, but it's not the right time. And what he
Legally had to wait.
Well, had nothing to do with
Oh.
it. He first of all, I think he wanted to work again. So I think publicly, sort of spilling your guts and
Right.
was probably not the best thing for him to get another job. But I also think that he looked at it, because he said this to me towards the end of last summer. He said, if I say some of the things that I'm going to say, during the season and they're not going to do well, it's going to look like I'm gloating. If they're doing well, it's going to look like sour grapes. Just let's let the season play out, and then at the end of the season, we'll think about it. And he was very nice. He did it, and he came on. He was going to come on for 2 segments, and then we just kept saying, hey, can you hang around? And it ended up being the entire show.
I mean, it was the interview of the year in sports in this town. I
Well,
found.
yeah. I mean, I think it went beyond our borders.
Yeah.
Why didn't he get picked up by anybody?
He had 2 opportunities that he could have taken for head coaching jobs this year. One was in a city that I don't think his spouse was real excited about, and the other one just wasn't a good job. The job that he wanted to get, he wasn't offered, but it was close. I think he would have taken the San Francisco job in a heartbeat. I think he thought that team was ready to win. Now, they've made a lot of changes with the new coach, Thom Sula, but I think he would have taken that job.
What complicated things for him, I think, was the shock that John Fox got fired in Denver, which put him out on the market. He gets hired
Yeah,
in
there was a lot
Chicago.
of bumper
Denver's
cars.
not going to hire Mike Shanahan back. So I think that the John Fox presence in the coaching market kind of threw everything out of whack.
How many years away is Kyle Shanahan from getting a head job?
2. I think he's with the right quarterback and the right team in Atlanta. I think they will have huge results offensively.
He's very talented.
He's talented, and he's very innovative. I mean, he's got a really great offensive mind, like his father. Now, I don't know if Kyle has the personality to be, a lock great head coach, but he's going to get a chance. I would say within 2 or 3 years max.
It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when for him.
Is it better the longer you spend working up to the job than getting it too soon in football? I mean, is there, did Jay Gruden get it too soon?
I mean, Jay Gruden worked his way up through the ranks. I
Yeah.
mean, he had been a coordinator,
Coached
position
arena
coach,
football.
arena football coordinator for a while. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, people used to say you can't come from college to the NFL and make it work. Yet Pete Carroll, who had some NFL background, has made it work in Seattle. Jim Harbaugh went to San Francisco from Stanford and did very well. We've seen now college coaches come in without head coaching experience and do well. So I'm not sure there's an exact path.
Have you done a show yet that I missed also where you scenarioed Kyle Shanahan coming back and doing the Redskins as head coach?
Oh, that's not going to happen. We have not done that.
We have not done that yet. But, Skins at one someday saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Hey, how about that idea that Carol Joynt?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good
Let's
one.
do that one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we leave football and move on to other sports, can we spend a moment on Deflategate, one of my absolute favorite subjects?
It's going to take more than a moment.
Okay, fine, go for it. We know and I figure we're safe with this week lead time with the show, that Roger Goodell probably will not come
Probably
back
not.
with a decision by the time the show airs. But I mean, there was definite mastery of the message that came out after from both sides. But from all the people you've talked to and what you know and your expertise, what rails is this on? Where's it going?
I
Is
think.
it moving in Brady's favor? Moving away from Brady's favor?
Okay, I think to argue about the validity of the act, whether or not the balls were deflated, really misses what's going on here. I don't think this had anything to do with deflating footballs. I think it has a lot more to do with what has probably been a pattern and track record of abuses by the Patriots over the years of the rules, dating back to Spygate, that has stuck in the side, a thorn in the side of a lot of owners and coaches throughout the league who have resented the Patriots' success and think that they cut corners to get there. And I think there was a general groundswell that this was an opportunity to knock the Patriots down a peg. And also there may have been, and I'm just guessing, there may have been discussions that took place between the league and the Patriots through one of the abuses that we don't even, aren't even aware of, where they said, look, next time you're in here for something, doesn't matter if it's a parking ticket, you're going to get the book thrown
You're
at
gonna
you.
get the hammer.
I think because none of it, I mean, none of the rest of it makes sense. I mean, to drop this kind of hammer on what like Kevin will describe is a parking ticket does not add up.
Yeah, it's the dumbest sports argument ever, sports discussion, but it's perfect for CNN
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
MSNBC.
Oh, again, it's beyond borders.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady, it's the Patriots, it's cheating.
It's Roger
But
Goodell who
it's
has
Roger
become,
Goodell.
the
But if
the
you-
bad
if-
guy
if-
in so many scenarios involving the. But so with Goodell, how does he walk back successfully from this?
Well, they've screwed the whole thing up from the beginning.
I mean, what does he say?
From the reporting that the footballs were measured at like 10.5 psi when there were, or 10 psi when they were nowhere near it. The Wells investigation.
And he was a
is-
loose cannon too, which was
Totally.
not good.
The Wells report, for a guy that's apparently a brilliant attorney,
Yeah.
it's a kindergarten project.
Right.
It is so filled with holes.
was a $5 million
it's almost, it's
kindergarten
almost like
project,
somebody
though.
didn't take out a calculator and like do the math on the measurements of the balls at halftime. The Colt footballs deflated at essentially the same
Yeah,
rate.
no, I
So
mean-
it takes into that whole, the ideal gas law, the science of
Well, and there's a
cold
new-
weather
and
in
the-
a football.
And the new
Yeah.
report from AEI, right? That who came out with a new science report? Does anybody know who came out?
I
with
don't
it?
know which one
There was
you're talking
another report that just
Yeah,
came
that,
out.
that came out.
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York Times published.
Right.
It's
right,
just
right.
it's
Something
it's
about it.
It's
interesting.
even more scientific and
Yeah.
more.
The interesting thing is most people would say, well, of course Brady had something to do with it. Like intuitively you would say that. But then when you read the report, you're like, wait a minute, there's no proof here that he did it. In fact, it almost proves that he didn't
Yeah.
do it. I think he's going to get the suspension reduced. I think Goodell's going to talk about how he was much more cooperative during the appeal. And because he was more cooperative, they learned certain things that they didn't know before. And I think there's going to even be some way for the league to sort of publicly say that Tom Brady didn't have direct involvement in this, to sort of
And if they
keep
say
the
that,
taint
then they
off
should
his
wipe out
legacy.
But
all
didn't
of
Well,
it.
they
cooperate.
should,
But
but they'll
didn't-
say, but initially, because he
didn't
didn't
cooperate.
provide some of the things we asked for, he was a little bit uncooperative, we're going to leave it at a game or 2 games.
And the league could make an argument that if everybody had just come clean in the first place, it wouldn't have gotten this far. And I think that's a valid argument. As far as Roger Goodell, surviving out of this, I don't think he makes these kind of moves unless he's got the backing of the most powerful owners he has. And again, if he survived Ray Rice,
Yeah.
people lose their jobs over those situations.
They
Politicians
should, yeah.
resign
Right, no.
over things like
This is
that.
the NFL.
Right.
Yeah,
but
but
if he
he's a
survived
big
Ray
earner.
Rice,
He's a huge
he'll
earner.
survive air Deflategate.
But just before we go away from this wonderful subject, if they just reduce it by 2 games, and those who follow the Patriots seem pretty stuck on the fact that Brady will go and fight it all the way to court, that it'll end up.
I mean, there are a lot of things that could happen if it goes to court. First of all, his lawyer, Jeffrey Kessler, would make that Wells report honestly look like an art project from a 5-year-old.
So it'd be fun if it goes to
It
court.
would be fun. But the problem, and Tommy's pointed this out, is you've got all this discovery opportunity for the other side, and discovery would be a lot of these emails and text messages that Brady was sort of didn't want to
Fudging
disclose,
about.
and it may have nothing to do with Deflategate. It could have something to do with something else.
And again, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, although I've watched lots of Law and Order: Criminal Intent in my time.
There you go.
Perry Mason, too.
I think that you could have a situation where they could wind up putting the Patriots on trial, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Well, it's really spellbinding, I think. I've actually started listening to Boston podcasts. I didn't even know about these radio stations in Boston, but they talk about nothing else but Deflategate.
And,
Well, it's
and the
tough,
actual
right?
football deflation had no
Yeah,
meaningful
no.
impact on anything.
Yeah, right. I mean, and you listen to actual quarterbacks talk about
Right.
it,
Yeah.
and they're very amused. Somebody who is not really in trouble, but whose career seems to be in trouble in a completely other sport, golf. Who's another person I'm very mesmerized by is Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods actually brought me into golf. I didn't watch golf before Tiger. Well, I had a boyfriend once who was kind of into it, but I didn't really watch it. But Tiger Woods, I don't know why, but he just made it really fun to watch.
For a lot of people.
And I am one of those people where if Tiger doesn't make the cut, I don't watch. And I would hate to think that I keep waiting for that narrative where he walks back out on the greens and he's the old Tiger again, but with every major, I feel like we're moving further and further away from that.
I mean, Kevin knows a lot more about golf than I do. I'm not a big golf fan, period. And I mean, I try to hold on to.
Are you a
as-
Tiger fan?
No.
No,
No,
he's
okay.
No, but I don't particularly dislike him either. I mean, I explained to Kevin, it's the media fanboys, Tiger fanboys in the media that
I
drive
hope
me
I don't
nuts.
qualify as one of those.
You know, I mean,
I like complicated personalities, so that's why I.
but I think that I just find it hard to believe that no one ever discusses the fact that Dr. Anthony Galea, who was basically a Dr. Feelgood,
Yeah.
pushing PEDs and human growth hormones to all kinds of athletes, gets arrested, gets off the market, is no longer available, and Tiger's never been the same since. There's one
Interesting.
PGA
Do you
player
buy
on the
into this
tour.
too?
I'm starting to. I thought it was ridiculous. My favorite word with Tom's, with certain Tom assertions. But yeah, there could be some.
I mean, I'm not
smoke
saying
there.
it is, but I'm just
I don't
saying
yeah.
it's worth exploring. I mean,
But look at Alex
how many-
Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's playing well.
yeah,
He's
how many
playing well.
how many PGA players can say, "Well, I was questioned by federal authorities in a PED investigation"? I think there's one. Tiger Woods.
2 years ago, Tiger Woods won 5 tournaments and was the player of the year. So he's played well. He hasn't won majors. He's had, a couple of, good moments here and there. I think I'm in the minority, I know this, but I think he's going to have a second part of his career. He's only 39 years old, and he's going through this thing that's as much mental as anything else. Now, he could end up being David Duval or Ian Baker Finch, two people that got the yips and got, completely sidetracked mentally, and their games were never the same again. But Tiger is just the ultra competitor. I think there's a second act for him. And I think, by the way, when that second act happens, if it does, people that are casual sports fans, even more of them are going to be into it. Because
I'll agree with that.
And you'll hear
America-
high-fiving and network off
Oh,
sports
yeah.
offices. all
America
over.
loves a redemption story, a comeback story. And
He'll
with
be
him, it
bigger
would be
than ever
incredible.
if that happens.
And we have another 10 years minimum
I don't
for
know
it
if
to
it
happen.
was you two talking about this, but it was a fascinating discussion, so it must have been you two.
Oh, sure.
About the impact that he had on the industry as a whole. That it's not just the networks; it's the guy with the golf shop down the street,
Oh, yeah.
and the people who at the country clubs who are giving the lessons, and that the Tiger phenomenon filters down.
Tiger
so.
made so much money for so many people.
Yeah.
So many people, created industries. Golf was on the rise, but then it rose exponentially from where it was. And now, you said it, the TV ratings are nowhere near where they
And
were
he
with
brought
Tiger.
locally. He brought a PGA event to Washington
Yeah.
when we had
Yeah.
lost one
And
in
he
the
still
Kemper
has
Open.
his tournament
He
that'll
does.
be coming
Yes.
here,
It's
right?
going to be played
Yeah.
at RTJ this
Right,
summer,
right,
but
right.
it'll be back,
Yeah.
hopefully closer.
Now, the one thing I think that's disappointing, I would think, about the Tiger phenomenon that everyone predicted but didn't happen, you don't see a lot of people, you don't see any players of color on the PGA Tour.
No, isn't that what
I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I have no idea, because I think there's more African Americans playing golf now
Than ever before.
than ever before. I just don't know why we don't have more people of color on the tour. I don't know why that is.
For what it's worth, his son is supposedly pretty good. And
That'd be good.
has some natural. I mean, we got
Yeah.
about 10 years to.
Right.
Talk to me about Denny McCarthy, or talk to all of us about Denny McCarthy. Why we should care.
That's a good question. Well, first of all, I know Denny's family.
But he's local.
He's
I mean,
local.
This is
Great
not everybody
Georgetown,
follows golf like
Georgetown
we do.
prep grad, went to UVA. We had him on the show last week before the Open.
And
Denny
he
was,
sounded so solid and
Yes.
together, and it was very impressive.
Denny, first of all, was a very good basketball player at Georgetown Prep, one of the best shooters in the area for a few years.
And Kevin likes shooters.
I do like shooters. But Denny shot, he finished 7 over. He was the second lowest amateur, and he's going to turn professional, and it'll be fun to follow his career. He's a good, really good young guy.
And he's in it.
talented.
I mean, this is what he wants to do.
Oh, yeah,
he's
for
not
sure.
just.
Yeah, he's going to be a pro golfer.
When he was on with us, he talked about how cool it was when they pulled up in the parking lot when they first got at
Yes,
the
that was a
tournament,
great
right?
story.
And then who pulls up next to him but Tiger Woods?
Right.
And he's still in awe,
Yeah.
But yet he's going to be playing in the same
Yeah,
tournament.
and he made the cut, and
and
Tiger
played
did.
better.
Yeah.
We're going to get to happy stories eventually, but as we go into baseball, let's start with Pete
That was a
Rose.
happy story.
That is, no, Denny's a happy
Right.
story, but Tiger wasn't such a happy story. But maybe it will be. But as we go into baseball, let's talk about Pete Rose, because I think it's fascinating what happened in the past several days. Where does it stand with his trying to get into the Hall of Fame now? Does he pull his name out? Does somebody pull his name out? Is his name not in? What is the status?
Tommy, as you know, is a Hall of Fame baseball voter.
Yes.
So
tell us
Well,
everything.
here's how
He
it
should
works.
answer this one.
He is on the official banned list for Major League Baseball, and the Hall of Fame is a private entity. They're not run by baseball. They make their own policies, and they have a policy that as long as somebody is on that list, they won't be up for election to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So they've never been on. So Pete Rose's name has never been on the ballot that's sent to baseball writers to vote on the Hall of Fame, because the Hall of Fame has this
Because he's
policy.
on the other list, right?
Right. So after 15 years of, after 5 years of being retired, then you go on the ballot. If you don't make it in after 15 years, your name comes off the ballot, and then a Veterans Committee of Hall of Famers with other writers decides on players who maybe didn't make it the first time around. So Pete Rose, if he ever did become eligible would be voted on
But
by
he's
that
close,
committee.
right? Isn't that what triggered ESPN doing this?
No, he's not close.
He's not close. And they had the freedom of information request in for what, a year or something?
Yeah, to get the documents from that. But again, Rob Manfred said he would reconsider. He would consider hearing the case.
Okay.
That's all he ever said. The new commissioner. If the Veterans Committee were to vote on Pete Rose, whether we had this information that he bet on baseball as a player
As
or
a
not,
player, yeah.
he wouldn't have gotten in. The current Hall of Famers do not want Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. They think he committed the cardinal sin. He was not a well-liked player who committed the worst sin you could in a baseball locker room. And John Dowd, who's still in Washington, who did the Dowd report that got him banned in the first place, told me a month ago, said he bet on baseball as a player. We all know that. Everybody knows that.
Well, but
So he's not. He's not. He's never getting in the Hall of Fame.
so it's done.
Never. Period.
Okay. Does he concede that? Will he ever concede
Oh,
that?
I think I'm not sure.
Or does he live in a kind of denial?
For years, somebody close to Pete, well, not real close anymore, told me that Pete Rose wanted to get reinstated, not for the Hall of Fame, but because he thought he would get hired then as a manager. And he saw that managers making $3 million a year, and he wanted that salary. Now, I think he knows that ship has sailed, so I think he does really want to be in the Hall of Fame now. But it's not going to happen.
Who says to him, you've got to let this go?
Well, people, how can you give advice to a guy who denies
Lied that much.
who denies it
Yeah,
for
no,
15 years,
a stupid
and
question.
then when his book comes out, decides to come clean? You've got to question a guy's motives from day one with this guy. He
I
seems
was never a big Pete
self-destructive.
Rose fan, so.
Well, keeping it alive is probably good business for him.
Oh, I think, look, Pete Rose is not going
Because
to
he
starve.
makes he makes so
Right.
much money
Yeah.
at the
Autograph
shows.
shows.
Pete Rose is not going to starve. And again, the Hall of Fame, it's not a birthright. It's an honor. You're honoring a guy.
Yeah.
It's,
So what about Alex Rodriguez?
Oh, he's
Will
not
you
getting
vote for
in
him?
either.
No?
No shot.
Okay.
This is a two-time liar. This is a guy who told you he didn't use and then was exposed once, and then he told you he didn't use again and was exposed twice. He's not getting in. None of those guys are getting in. Barry Bonds isn't getting in. Roger Clemens isn't getting in.
McGuire.
They barely. You need 75% of the vote on the ballot to get in. Clemens and Bonds get half that every year, and as more and more guys come on the ballot, like next year Ken Griffey, it's going to be harder for these guys to get votes.
Do you think our wonderful Ryan Zimmerman will get in someday? Is he on that trajectory?
Is he your favorite player?
No, I've got a soft spot for Jason Worth, but I like them all, actually. I like all the Nats. I like Anthony Rendon a lot, too. But I'm thinking about Ryan Zimmerman because, we were sitting here before talking about being there in the first game at the new stadium and that home run. He's had these moments that have been such signature moments for the Washington fan.
Yes.
And we know he's in the Washington Hall of Fame, if there were such a thing. But I've always been curious if he is a contender.
It doesn't look like he's going to be healthy enough to sustain the numbers he would have to do in the second half. He'll go down as a very good ball player.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy and get rid of this Nick Johnson disease he has. The guy who used to play for the Nationals who got hurt all the time.
Yeah.
Ryan Zimmerman's a great guy, and I really hope that he does well, but I don't think he'll be a Hall of Famer, but I think he'll be thought of as a guy who was very good.
Is Jason Worth a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay. But we know Bryce Harper's already in the Hall
Yes,
of Fame,
well,
right?
He's on his way.
So the
He
big
and Max
Here's the
Scherzer
only
are on their
question.
way.
Yeah.
Will he go in wearing a Yankee cap or a Nationals cap?
Thank you. That's where I wanted to go. You guys rattle that threat so often. On a scale, how much is there in favor that Harper that's going to happen?
Seems like it's better than 50-50.
Can they even talk to him?
No, not for a few years, but enjoy
They
him.
can talk about
enjoy
it.
him while he's here, and hope that they win a World Series or two with him. That's still in play. He seems to like Washington a lot. He seems to
does.
like being a star in this
Couldn't
town.
New York chew him up?
Well, every person has a fond memory of their first girlfriend, and Washington's his first baseball team, But he grew up as a Yankee fan. He grew up wanting to be
Does
Mickey
he still talk
Mantle.
about that, though? Does he?
Not really.
Well, I mean, it's not really, and people don't want to be obnoxious and bring it up to him all the
And
time.
the
But the
Yankees
New York
aren't what the
papers,
Yankees used to be.
the New
Right.
York papers were filled
I know.
with Harper
Well,
stuff.
those are the media fanboys.
And his agent is Scott Boras,
Yeah.
who is looking at the possibility of the first $400 million player. So if the Nationals are going to want to keep him, they're going to have to sign him as a free agent just like anyone else, or make him an offer that he can't refuse. And I don't know.
$400 million player.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, because Giancarlo Stanton just got $300 million last year, and by the time Bryce is a free agent in 2019, I believe, you'll be looking at $400 million.
He has these little heart-stopping moments, though, like with the hamstring and the
Last
knee,
night,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
It's also can go away.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Speaking of this, is Johnny Manziel like off the stage finally, or
No, I mean, he's gotten his act together, according to him. But I was reading just the other day that the coaching staff is starting to think that he's going to have a chance
he's
to
going to
play.
grow up and play well
Yeah.
and do what
he's exciting.
He seems to be more self-aware. That's a pretty key characteristic for young people.
You know.
And he's getting there.
I mean, it's just interesting to think of him and then to listen to your interview with Denny McCarthy, you know, who just sounds
Right.
so mature
Yeah.
and like so together. And then I wanted to come back to the Redskins, but not the sport of football, and just say, what is the status? I know that I've talked to Muriel Bowser here on the show, and she seems to be of the mind to try to get the Redskins back to Washington, but Virginia, Terry McAuliffe wants to make a play for them. Where do you think the Redskins will end up?
Well, I hope they end up here in the city.
Yeah.
You know, and I would love for something to be built right at the RFK site because it is convenient and it would be great for all of us, you know, for born and raised Washingtonians that grew up watching them at RFK and having your own little path to the stadium on Sundays for 1 o'clock
And what it
games
did to the
and-
city after
Oh,
the
yeah.
games in the evenings, because everybody
Right.
went out in the city.
Yeah,
Maybe they'd
so-
open Duke Eberts again.
Yeah.
They opened
Right.
Nathan's.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
absolutely.
Let's open up
Except Kevin Plank owns it now. Let's lobby him.
Let's open up Nathan's in 3rd edition. We'll get Georgetown back to where it was back in the day. But I hope it comes back to DC, and I hope.
But realistically, though, what
Realistically,
what are
Virginia's
the
probably going to
parameters
offer the
that are-
best deal, and they're probably not going to even mention the name change thing.
So for Snyder, is it all a business deal, or is sentiment involved to some degree where he would like to come to Washington if the city could make it work for him?
I would hope so, and I think he would be sentimental about.
He says he is.
About bringing the team back to Washington, but I don't think the franchise is going to give up on this name thing.
Is
I
the
just
trend
don't-
towards smaller or bigger stadiums?
Smaller,
Smaller,
for
because
sure.
more people are watching at
But
home.
here's
Yes.
what complicates. This is what complicates the whole thing, and why Washington probably would be the best spot all around. Even though I don't think it's going to wind up in DC. You want to build a football stadium. You want it to do more than just host the 10 home games. That the 8 home games and the 2 preseason games. You want to be able to host a Super Bowl. You want to be able to host a Final Four.
Yep.
So you've got to
You want
have
to be
a
able to
certain
host
capacity.
Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Right.
You've got to have a certain capacity to do that. So they have to be very careful about that. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis borders on that, but I think their capacity is about 70,000.
Tommy,
and that hosts a Super
There's
Bowl.
always a way to expand these stadiums to get the right capacity.
I know.
Indianapolis has done
You're
it.
not-
Glendale, Arizona's done it.
But he may look at what at what Jerry did in Dallas and build his own palace.
That would be a mistake.
The old Jerry World Palace. And if you do want to host a Super Bowl and you do want to host Final Fours, you don't want it to be out in Loudoun County. You want it to be in the district. Now, again, it seems like all their political capital, with the Allen family in particular, Bruce Allen got the whole Richmond training camp deal done. It's in Virginia. But I just wrote the other day in the Washington Times, I think they risk losing some of their Maryland fans if they wind up putting the team,
There is that risk.
particularly in Loudoun County, Virginia.
And then the name thing. It seems to be, it ebbs and flows. It'll be quiet for a while, but then something happens, like the shootings in Charleston. and the great movement that's afoot right now. And it's got quite a lot of traction to remove the Confederate flag from hanging near the Capitol in South Carolina. But not only that, all these corporate entities are saying we're taking the flag out of all forms of products and whatnot. And then inevitably, the Redskins are back in the conversation. It's like it's never going to go away until it goes away.
We talked about this today. Kevin spoke about it very well.
Well, I mean,
But I'll listen to it on the podcast
no, but
tonight.
what's interesting is that the name change discussion has basically gone away for almost a year. We have not had a lot of it.
But that's what I mean. But then
Which-
something
which-
triggers it, and it's
Well, yeah,
back.
you know what triggered it a couple of years ago? The Redskins they had a really good season. They won the division, and now all of a sudden,
Oh,
it
if we ever
becomes-
go to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
it'll be unavoidable.
So you win 7 games in 2 years, and the discussion starts to die down a little
Yeah.
bit, which speaks to a level of sort of self-indulgence by a lot of these people that attack this issue. In my view, I don't see the Confederate flag issue having any link whatsoever to the Redskins.
But you're
name
not Keith
issue.
Olbermann.
I know, and I watched it last night, and he takes every opportunity because
Yeah.
he's very much
He's
in
a
favor
very
of the
big-
name being changed to sort of link the two, but they're just two totally different. One symbolizes, for the most part, pro-slavery, and the other symbolizes the football team that plays
On
in
that,
Washington.
on that note, I've got to say we're out of
Yeah.
time.
Oh, how about that?
Oh,
We have such
so
a
it's
good time
drinking
together.
time now.
Yeah, it is drinking time.
Oh,
We
good.
have such a good
Good.
time together.
Because I need a
Right.
drink,
That's
I
why
tell
we
you.
have to do
Well,
this
we're
year
gonna
after
play
year.
basketball first.
Okay.
You want to do
can
that?
Actually, I play
basketball.
better. I play better after I've drank.
I bet you do.
You're going to go watch the Nats game for an inning, and
Okay.
even though Bryce Harper is sitting on the bench
Right.
tonight. Thank you guys
Thanks,
so much.
Carol.
Thank
Don't we
you.
just love having them come in and do this?
Thanks.
Thank you.
And the audience at home, and go to your Nats games, root for the team, see you at the World Series.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank
Thanks
you very
very
much. Bye.